Afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are around the world. My name is Andy Fell, and I'm the founder of a business called Gift 631, and I'm also the author and presenter of a series of now predominantly virtual, but also live events under the What Winners Do brand. Now, normally I'd be wearing a What Winners Do t-shirt to present this particular live event, but today I've decided to wear the t-shirt of one of my amazing clients, the StoreLocal group. And for those of you, this is just those of you in Australia. If you're looking for a fantastic self-storage option, these are the guys for you. So look up StoreLocal. If you can't find them, get in touch with me and I'll make sure I connect you. So thank you to the amazing team at StoreLocal for everything you do to partner with Gift 631 and What Winners Do. Now, the purpose of this particular session, and I've done this session a few times. I live in the Gold Coast in Queensland in Australia. I've done a session very early in the morning here, about 5:30, to suit particular time zones. I've done an evening session here from 6 o'clock, again to catch some particular different time zones. And now I thought I'd do the same session here at lunchtime on the Gold Coast, again, just to give different people who live and work in different time zones the opportunity to catch some of my work. And I'm very conscious at the present time that there's many people going through really, really significant challenges. Now, some of those challenges relate to the fact that maybe you've lost your job, maybe you've been stood down, maybe you're working significantly reduced hours, or maybe you're running a small business and that small business is facing into some really difficult times. And I truly understand that. I've been made redundant twice through my corporate career, both of which, by the way, have led to significant opportunities. And now I run a business that was about 85% lived off face-to-face events, conferences, off-site, and leadership and talent development workshops. Clearly, all of that has disappeared, and I'm certainly pivoting to Win to create a whole series of virtual events. So I really understand the mindset of someone running a small business when suddenly your revenue stream has just been decimated. So this is really about how can you create a winning mindset through everything that's going on at the present time. How can you get front-footed? Because one of the things I can guarantee you is that through this particular crisis, opportunities will emerge. And we all need to be in the right mindset to make sure we take advantage of those opportunities as and when they do arise. And that's really important. We need to be in the right mindset to, a friend of mine is a guy called Tim Horan who used to play rugby for the Wallabies. And he always talks about, you're playing against New Zealand only once or twice during a game will a gap open up. By that, he meant an opportunity. And you've really got to be in the right mindset to go for the gap. Also, we need to be in that right mindset because not just me, but so many people out there need to pivot to win. I do not believe the world is going to go back to the way that it was operating before. So even if you are working, for a big organization and your job is secure through this, I think there'll be some new ways of working that emerge from this. And also many people I know are in self-isolation. Those of you who are working certainly in the Americas, big parts of Europe, you're on full lockdown and you are finding a new way of working within your own four walls of your house. And that requires certain disciplines. And what I've found very much is two things are really helping me through this period of time. The series of winning habits that I've created. Essentially, I'm a massive believer that success is 95% systems and 5% magic. You only get to the 5% magic through the 95% systems. That's a quote from the Disney Institute. And I'm finding my system is built on winning habits and winning routines, some of which I'm going to share with you in the time that we have available today. So combining those winning habits, that winning system, with what I call my champion's mindset. So I'm always in the right zone to do great work, to make a difference, to live life with with gratitude to help everyone I can possibly help, so that as and when things pick up, I'm well positioned to take advantage of that. So what I strongly suggest is, certainly for the rest of this particular Facebook Live, but also way beyond that, that we have to get ourselves into what I call the player mindset. So there are 4 particular mindsets. 3 of them are very, very unhelpful at the best of times, and they're very dangerous at the particular time. The first one is what I call the victim mindset. And that is, when you hear someone saying, oh, it's just not fair, poor me. These people live with blame. They're always justifying why things are not going their way. It's a really unhelpful state to be in. Maybe a little bit understandable, but it's not the zone that you need to be in to live and lead successfully. The second mindset is the cynical mindset. And that's the person who will say things like, it's easier for them, I've tried that before, it doesn't work for me, it won't work for me. And when they see someone being successful, they put it down to luck. And of course, that's the last thing that it ever is. The third mindset, and again, I'm seeing so much of this at the present time, is what I call the spectator mindset. People who are overthinking, they're procrastinating, they're spending way too long reading or watching way too many news feeds. And, one of the things I would suggest to everyone is you limit yourself to 2 or 3 high quality news feeds a day. You just get sucked into this, and it creates a feeling of anxiety, of overwhelm, and actually it almost creates a feeling of helplessness. So you just fall into this spectator zone of just sitting back and watching. Now, your competitors will not be doing that. There'll be a small number who are very front-footed, who are pivoting aggressively, who are finding new opportunities, new ways to win. So that's the other thing I would limit significantly is the amount of time you spend scrolling through social. It's really important that we live in the 4th mindset, which is the player mindset, which is positive, which is can-do, which is optimistic, which is the group of people that focus very, very much within their circle of influence. There's a ton of stuff going on out there that's outside of our influence. And my perspective has always been, if you can't control it, why are you going to give any attention or effort into it? Let's all focus on what we can influence. If you've lost your job, think about your circle of influence. What are the things that you can do to put yourself in a better position to get the next job? To do some proactive work on your CV, to reach out to all of the contacts that you have, to get your LinkedIn profile really, really professional and up to date. I'm amazed how many people have not got a top quality or even a LinkedIn profile at all. So wherever you are, there are things that we can do within our circle of influence to create a better future. So through this live seminar, please do think about that player mindset. That's where we need to be. And it takes systems and winning habits and routines to get there, and then get back there when we get knocked out of our stride. So secondly, a lot of people at the moment are certainly asking me, Andy, how do you define success? And I can't do that for you. The only person who can define success is you. Success means different things to each and every one of us. But what I can do is give you a formula for success. And this is how I certainly think about success and how I frame up success. Success to me is a combination of having big, clear goals. Jim Collins would call them BHAGs. Now, when I started off in banking back in the UK, I was sent on a number of training courses, and the trainer would always talk through SMART goals. And it's something I've learned to reject as I've gone on through my life. There are certain elements of SMART goals that I really like. The S stands for specific. The M stands for measurable. I agree with both of those things. I'll come back to the A and the R, and then the T stands for time bound. Fundamental point of agreement there as well. A goal without a deadline is a wish. A goal without a deadline is a wish. But the bit in the middle, the achievable and the realistic, I have a massive problem with. Only a small percent of people actually ever set goals. But those that do, the majority of them set achievable, realistic goals, which only take you a little distance outside your comfort zone. Very easy to give up upon. And even should you be successful in achieving those goals, they don't really take you anywhere in life because they're very achievable, they're very realistic. They only take you a little further than where you are today. So I've always believed in unsmart goals. But when I was working with an organisation in the southwest of England called the Exeter, an insurance business, the guys really, really loved the point of unsmart goals, but they didn't like the term. So they reframed it, smart goals. And it's a term that's very, very easy to remember, a little bit of fun attached to it, which is the most important F word in business. So it's about having specific, measurable, unachievable, unrealistic, and time-bound goals. Goals that are way out there, that are really going to take you in the direction of achieving your true potential in life. Now, I'm more interested in the steps I take on the way to achieving that goal than the achievement of that goal in itself. I'd rather set a massive goal and come a little bit short than set a small goal and overachieve it. As Michelangelo once said, the danger for most of us is not that we set the bar too high and miss it, but we set the bar too low and we hit it. So the first part of my success formula is setting big, clear goals. Now, what I have done is my business is called Gift 631. I grew up at a property called 631 Kenilworth Road. I think it's beautiful that my parents and also my grandfather, who used to live there with us in the later years of his life, my parents and my grandfather's legacy lives on in the name of my business. But I've also flipped the 631. So it's 1, 3, 6. And that's helping people set one massive goal, breaking it down into 3 sub-goals, and then breaking it down further again into the 6 next best actions, all of which you can find in my journal, which I'll come back to as we work through this session. And why is that important? Because the small percentage of people who set a really big goal, what tends to happen is they get a little bit overwhelmed. It's such a big goal, and they're thinking, I've just lost my job. How can I achieve this big dream, this big goal? Or, I'm a really busy person today. How am I, ever going to get some time to really focus on this big goal? So the way you do that is you break it down into 3 sub or milestone goals. And then you break it down further again to your 6 next best actions. And you focus in at the action level. And people say, why 6? Well, 26 actions is like a laundry list. It's just too many. It creates this overwhelm again in your brain. But equally, if there's only 2 actions, you're not creating enough momentum. You're not creating enough energy. The brain likes to feel momentum. The brain likes to see momentum. Success breeds success. So 6 is just that really good number. Every time you achieve an action, you replace the action. Every time you achieve a milestone or a sub-goal, you replace it. All of which is taking you in the direction of the really big goal. So you think big, and yet you go small. Think big and go small. The bit in the middle is mindset. And a lot of my habits that I'm going to take you through in this session are all about getting me into that ideal performance state, strengthening my mindset. It's about building an unshakable belief system. And I think at the moment, people often talk about IQ and EQ, but I think it's also about AQ, which is your adaptability quotient. Your adaptability quotient, because we're all going to have to pivot, we're all going to have to shift our thinking, we've all got new ways of working, and who's very strong with their adaptability quotient, who I believe will be successful. So why is mindset so important? Well, I just thought I'd create a highly sophisticated chart for you. And this is you today, and this is the future you. But between you and the future you is what I call the river of self-doubt. Now, some days this river flows fairly gently when everything's going in your way, when you're in a really good mindset, Your inner coach is winning out over your inner critic, which is, when you believe you can versus you can't. But some days it's running like a torrent. It's running really, really quickly. And that's where your self-confidence is low, your self-belief is low, your self-esteem is low. So, for example, if you're working without pay at the moment, you've just lost your job, your small business is really, really struggling, this is going to be running very, very fast. If you've lost your job, for example, this river also might have got a lot wider. The river of self-doubt can be running fast, and it can also get a lot wider when times are really difficult. And it's also full of, depending on where you live around the world, alligators, crocodiles, bull sharks, piranhas. And they are the people who live with the victim, the cynic, or the spectator mindset. And what they're trying to do is pull you into the river with them. They're trying to pull you into the river with them. Mediocre people want you to stay mediocre. We must all remember that energy goes to energy. Positive energy goes to positive energy. Winners go to winners. And unfortunately, negative goes to negative. And this river can be full of those types of people. So what do we need to do if we need to get from where we are today to where we want to go? We have to build our bridge of self-belief. Now, you can't just build that bridge once. You've got to build it. If you just build it once, it can start to crumble when self-doubt and fears and all these types of things and all these people who are talking to you, they start to eat away at you, and the bridge starts to crumble a little bit. And if it crumbles too much, you go straight through and you're back in the river. So you have to build this bridge, and then you have to sustain this bridge on a daily basis. And that's the mindset that I'm going to take you through, how I build a champion's mindset and reinforce it on a daily basis. And then obviously you've got to move across the bridge by taking action. And when you see bridges, most people draw them in the traditional way of an arch. And that's because at the start of the action phase, it's uphill, it's difficult, it's challenging, it takes effort, it takes energy. It's easy to slip back into your comfort zone and just stay where you are. So that really reinforces what I'm talking about when I talk about the success formula. And it's about big, clear goals. It's about working on developing a champion's mindset and then sustaining it so you live in the player zone and you have this unshakable belief that you can go from where you are to where you want to be. And then you need to take action. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, "No one got muscles watching me work out." He also said, "You cannot climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets." So, we have to take action. But I see a lot of people who are just in this whirlwind. They're taking so much action, but actually very little of it relates to the achievement of their goals. So it's really important we take action that directly influences the achievement of the sub-goal or the big goal. So that's one type of action. It's action that's directly relating to the achievement of the goal. The second type of action is the foundation actions. That's the winning habits, the winning routines, the winning systems upon which our mindset is built. The stronger our mindset, the more courageous we are with the other set of actions. So if you just want to challenge yourself for a moment around the current actions that you're taking, all you need to do is take a piece of paper and draw a line straight down the middle. On one side of it, you put HVA, which stands for high value activities. On the other side of it, you put LVA, which stands for low value activities. And then you just think about the amount of time you're spending on the high value activity versus the amount of time you're spending on the low value activity. And you give yourself a percentage on each side. Now, when I do this with many of my clients, they're actually really surprised the amount of time they're spending on low value activities. And let's just say you've got 30% high value, 70% low value. Imagine if you just moved 1% every week for 12 months, where you'd be by the end of a 12-month period. Now, I think there's some much, much bigger and quicker wins than that. But let's say it's 2% a week. Imagine where you'll be in 6 months, And I'm not naive here because often people get caught up in low value activity and it's quite difficult to extract themselves from that. But if you just went to one less ineffective video meeting a week, if you just spent half an hour less just reactively dealing with your inbox, if you watch one Netflix show less, if you spent half an hour less, playing on the on any kind of games on any of your devices, if you just switch from low value to some high value in any area of your life, you can make some significant shifts relatively quickly. The more time you spend in high value activities, the more likely you are to achieve those big goals. So those are the two types of actions. Now, recently, what I've realized is there's a massive accelerator, and that accelerator is the letter D. So success equals G for goals, M for mindset, A for action, times D. And D is debriefing. And, if you think about every time you take an action that directly relates to the achievement of the goal, and then you debrief on the effectiveness of that action. So, if you do a huddle, you debrief the huddle. If you run team meetings, if you run video conferences, if you coach people, whatever it might be, if you're a conference speaker, every single action that you take, you debrief. And again, if you just find the 1 or 2 percenters and you apply that improvement consistently to that action or that series of actions, again, you can only but accelerate your performance. And a good friend of mine from the world of Formula One motor racing, a guy called Richard West, always talks about a 3-stage process. Plan, do, review. Plan, do, review. And Richard says what he sees is people spending less and less time planning and virtually no time reviewing. But the magic is in the review. The magic is in the debrief. And he would say that when he was working with Ferrari and Michael Schumacher would spend more time in the garage after a race with the engineers debriefing a race that they'd won as opposed to a race that they'd lost. He was looking for the difference that made the difference that they could then accentuate in the next race. So when I'm talking about debriefing, I'm talking about debriefing things that go really well as well as things that go less well. That is massively important in terms of accelerating your performance. So there is the success formula, and there are the 4 mindsets. We need to spend our time in that player mindset. So I just want to use the rest of the time just going through a few of my daily routines, because these are the things that I fall back on in good times, but these are the things that made a massive difference to me over the last few weeks. Like I say, my business was built on face-to-face engagement. 80% of my work has disappeared. I'm really happy to say it's now coming back through a series of virtual coaching, virtual events, and other things like that. But it was because of these winning habits and routines that gave me so much to rely upon in the good times and the less good times. Also, a massive debt, as I've said, to my amazing clients like StoreLocal for really working with me through these interesting times. So I'm a fundamental believer that highly successful people start every day with a real powerhouse routine. Now, I first learned this through a guy called Hal Elrod, who wrote a book called The Morning Miracle. And Hal had a particular morning regime that he followed relentlessly, and millions of people I know around the world do the same. And it's all about starting the day exceptionally well to set the tone for the rest of the day, so you can live a level 10 life. That's what it's all about. Winning habits, winning routines to enable you to live a level 10 life. Now, you can Google Hal Elrod and you'll find lots of stuff around his morning routine. And essentially it's talking about starting every day with silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. It's a real powerhouse morning routine. Now, I do all of those things every day, a couple of which I'll touch on here, some I won't. But the particular routine didn't work for me. Now, I've always studied successful people, one of which is Hal, and I've always had this philosophy that you learn, you copy, and then you add your own 10% winning edge. Through a friend and client of mine, a guy called Paul Tucker, I've realized over time that sometimes you've got to learn, you've got to adapt, and then you add your own 10% winning edge, which is exactly what I did with Hal's morning routines. And the routines I'll take you through here, just feel free to play around with them, to adapt them, to change them, to morph them into something that's really going to work with the way that you live your life. The key point is success is 95% systems, 5% magic. You need a system. I'm sharing with you some of the elements of my system so you can learn from that. Some you might decide you're just going to copy. Some you're going to adapt so they fit with the way that you live your life. So this is how I start each and every day. And again, you'll absolutely find this in the What Winners Do journal. I start every day with the 4M routine. The first M is movement. Now, many of my clients say to me, Andy, I'm not a runner, I'm not a swimmer, I'm not a cyclist, I'm not a gym junkie. Not that you can go to the gym at the present time. And I say, that's cool. Just move. 20 minutes walk. Stimulate your body to stimulate the mind. Healthy body, healthy mind. My wife Leona was out for a run this morning and she came up with an absolutely amazing idea. I equally was out running and I came up with a couple of thoughts of my own. So again, it's a great opportunity to be creative. So start the day with some movement. My second M is what I call a mind cleanse. It's literally taking everything that's up here, and our mind can only hold 4 thoughts at any one time, and just scrolling it down. It's essentially a glorified things to do list. The key thing I do then, and again, if you do this properly, and this is all areas of your life, once I've got it down, I star the really important things. And it's not a race to get from top to bottom on your things to do list. It's about doing the things that matter most, doing the things that are high value, doing the things that directly relate to the achievement of that big goal or other important areas of your life. So I move and then I mind cleanse. Once I mind cleanse, I then meditate for 10 minutes a day. Now I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook, on LinkedIn, through my emails around mental health, anxiety, sense of overwhelm, negativity. And there's 2 things that really, really help my mental health. Movement and meditation. Now meditation, the theory is it takes 66 days to create a new habit. Meditation isn't one of those things that you do once and you get an instant result. It's one of those things that you need to build into your routine. And if you're not, I just do a simple 10-minute guided meditation a day through the Calm app. If you don't believe you're ready for meditation, just sit and center yourself for a few minutes, away from your technology and everything else. Just sit and center yourself. Why does that matter? Because greatness requires stillness. From stillness comes clarity. Clarity is a massively important word at the present time. We've all got to be thinking about where we are, where we want to get to, how the world is changing, how we pivot ourselves. There's a lot of things that we need to really focus on to make sure we're best placed, as I've said. So clarity is so important. Clarity of goal, clarity of thought, clarity of action, clarity of behavior. So greatness requires stillness. From stillness comes clarity. From clarity comes innovation, breakthrough, and success. So once I've meditated, I'm in a really good state. Then my 4th M is I have an appointment with Mozart. Time for myself, by myself, with myself. No chance of interruption, no chance and no technology anywhere near me, just me, my thoughts, my journal. And I just spend literally 15, 20 minutes thinking. Highly successful people think. You can't just do. You've got to step back, step up, and think. Sometimes I think about big picture stuff. Sometimes I think about more immediate stuff. And I capture all of that in my journal. And I build on those thoughts over a period of time. Maybe 80% go nowhere. 20% is where the magic happens. Other things that I have in my journal, some days I just capture my affirmations. An affirmation is a present tense statement of who you want to become. I'm an amazing speaker. I'm a 2-time published author. I'm an amazing father. I'm an amazing husband. I'm an amazing coach. I'm an amazing leader. Whatever it is you might be, using the I am if you're new to affirmations. My chosen affirmation for 2020 is I am loving being CEO of my own life and the time and financial freedom that it brings. I write that in my journal every single day. I also write some things I'm happy and grateful for. And at the back, I've got what I call my Be Amazing list, where I write down big things, little things that I'm really proud of. And when I'm having a difficult moment, I can go to any of those 3 lists. I can either add to them or I can just reread them. And it really helps me change my state, which I'll come back to. The other critical daily activity is self-development. One superpower we all have, whatever's going on in the world, is our own curiosity. So invest in yourself. You cannot outgrow your level of self-development. You cannot outgrow your level of self-development. So much amazing content out there. Great opportunity to do some webinars whilst we're all at home, or audiobooks, whatever your chosen format is. So I do my 4M routine. I move. I mind cleanse. I'm now organized. My brain's free because everything that's in my brain is now down on paper. I meditate, centers me, increases my focus, increases my concentration, reduces any anxiety, reduces any pressure I'm feeling. Then I have an appointment with Mozart, which is essentially time for some journaling. Straight off the back of that, I'll do an act of gratitude. I'll reach out to someone. It might be a client, it might be a future client, it might be a past client, it might be a connection, it might be a friend, family member, whoever it might be. And I'll just express my thanks for some way that they've contributed to my life. And I'm a fundamental believer that you just put good out into the universe. You never know when or how you might get it back. Just over time, I guarantee it will come back to you. And even if it doesn't, it's actually not the point. The point is just to put good out into the universe and create this huge ripple effect. Straight after that, I have a time block. I call it my 1T. So it's 4M, 1G, which is gratitude, and then 1T, which is a time block. And that time block is there for me to focus on whatever is the most important thing that I've got to do that day. So it may be something that's come out of my mind cleanse, or it may be a big theme in my life. So it may be write a chapter in my book. It may be think about some video content. It may be write my notes up to deliver a session like this. So whatever is the most important thing I've got to do that day, I do it in that first time block. That's real high value activity. That means then when I get into my day, and I know many people at the moment, organizations seem to have got a bit little crazy that they've got people on webinars and video calls all day long. That's very, very draining. But it also means you can lose control of your agenda. You can lose control of your priorities. This way, I've done what matters most right at the start of the day. So that's how I start my 4M routine, an act of gratitude. When I was in financial services, one of my early bosses said to me, leaders can find 15 minutes a day to say thank you. So even when I was running big distribution businesses for major banks, I had 15 minutes a day in my diary at the start of the day, which was praise, recognition, celebration, writing lots of handwritten cards, avoiding praise by email wherever I possibly could. In the old days, sending faxes, sending texts, whatever it might be. 15 minutes praise and celebration a day, now replaced by the act of gratitude, and then time blocking the most important thing. So people then say to me, well, that's all amazing, but I can then start my day and something can happen that can really throw me off my stride. And I want to give you a little process that really helps me change my state at speed. This is like a 3.5 minute process. But again, you can add your own things into this. This is another one. Learn, adapt, add your own 10%, or just learn and copy it and then add your 10% to make it even better. And you can do this so quickly. So if I need to change my state, in fact, I do this daily, even when I'm feeling absolutely amazing like I am today. So it is possible to feel amazing even when 80% of your revenues disappear. So just remember that by being in the player zone and having an unshakable belief and mindset. So the first thing I do is write down my primary goal. Same goal every single day. Now, I know some fabulous goal setters who write their primary goal first thing in the morning and last thing at night. But at least once a day, I write my primary goal. Now, that should take you 10 seconds. The second thing I do is write down my chosen affirmation. And again, I've shared mine with you already. I'm loving being the CEO of my own life and the time and financial freedom that it brings. That should take you another 10 seconds once you've got very, very clear on your affirmation. Then I write down a few things I'm happy and grateful for. One of which, for example, at the moment, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm not traveling anywhere. It's absolutely beautiful. Spending more time at home with my family. How amazing is that? So there's always reasons to be happy and grateful. So I write a few things that I'm happy and grateful for. Now those can change, every single day. I then write down one thing that I'm proud of that I've achieved in my life. It can be a big thing, it can be a small thing. So if you think about that, it's probably about a minute. Once you get into the rhythm of this thing, you can stretch it a little bit further if you're really into the things you're happy and grateful for, whatever. Then I watch one of my own gift bites. Now, people often say to me, I've just not got time to really focus on my own development. Well, this is self-development in 2 minutes. A gift bite tends to last about 2 minutes. And so watch one of those. So now we're up to about 3 minutes. And then, because my state is absolutely amazing, I then rewrite the next most important thing I have to do. And then I do it. So that's a very, very quick state changer. Now, I recommend you do that every single day anyway. But or you do it before something really important. So if you're about to phone your most important client, or you're about to enter a coaching conversation with a member of your team, you might want to quickly do it then. But it's also about when you need to recover. So your biggest client has moved to the competition. The best person on your team has just resigned and gone to the competition. It's a great way to just get out of that slump that sometimes, we fall into. And my issue is at the moment that I'm seeing people fall into a slump and then staying down. And, we've all got to have ways to bounce back as quickly as we possibly can. And that's mine. So that's my second winning daily habit. The third one would be the high value versus low value activity. That would be a daily activity to think through, am I setting up my diary to focus enough on the high value activities? The fourth one is visualization. Now, visualization is incredibly powerful. When you are able to visualize strongly enough, your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what you see through your eyes and the image that you've created in your mind. That's when you know you've become a master of visualization. Now, like I say, I visualize in 3 ways. The first way is what I call active visualization. So I use this every time I'm about to do a significant activity. It's part of my setup. So I do an active visualization before a live like this. I do an active visualization before a coaching call. I do an active visualization before a What Winners Do event. I do an active visualization before a one-to-one meeting with Lamazocco or StoreLocal or Orange Business Services or any of my other amazing clients. And what do I visualize at that moment? I visualize the desired outcome that I want, and I visualize the best time that I've done that particular activity. So if I'm about to go on stage and speak at a big conference, the best conference presentation I believe I've ever done was for Aon over at the Sheraton Mirage here on the Gold Coast in Australia, when I believe I absolutely nailed it from the first minute to the last minute. So before I do any conference presentation now, I take myself back to the Sheraton. I see myself in that room. I can visualize the people. I can see the stage. I can feel the energy that I created through that presentation. I take myself back there. I visualize that. I visualize 2 people in the audience turning to each other going, wow, that was amazing. That's the moment when I speak. So that's active visualization. It's visualization in the moment that relates to what you're doing at that moment to get yourself into that ideal performance state so you can perform at your best. The second type of visualization is what I call, it's a glorified title, but I call it strategic visualization. It's the big picture visualization. Some people call it dream visualization. So this is really when it is a bit of a dream state when you're just thinking about your ideal future life. And I see myself when we can again, traveling the world in the style that we want to travel. I see myself in all these amazing vineyards in all these different parts of the world. I see this amazing property that's overlooking the ocean. That's big picture, that's dream visualization. And I just let my mind go there 2 or 3 times a day. And then there's a third type of visualization, which is a bit in the middle. And I call that, I don't call it, it's called fixated visualization. And this, as well as visualizing, this also takes an image. So let's say, first of all, what you do is you think about something that's going to make a material difference to your life. And let's say you want a new kitchen in the next 18 months. So what you do, you download some images of the particular kitchen you want, or images of parts of kitchens, or you even go to a magazine and you cut some images out, which is, in my view, even more powerful. And then what you do, you stare at this image of this kitchen for 2 minutes a day. Now, that is a long time. You stare at this for 2 minutes a day. And you not only stare at the image of that kitchen, you actually put yourself into the image. You see yourself in that kitchen, and you see yourself with a few friends, and you can see the laughter. You can see you've got a glass of red wine in your hand. You know what label of wine it is. You can see what you're cooking, and you can smell the cooking. So you create this really powerful image in your mind, projecting into the physical image that you have in your hand. And if you do that for 2 minutes a day, you will move in the direction of achieving whatever it is that would make a material difference to your life. So that's the 3 types of visualization. Very, very powerful. Many of us at the moment, it's this ongoing battle. Are we controlling our self-talk, or is our self-talk controlling us? Are we saying we can or we can't? Are we living by our goals, our hopes, our dreams, or our doubts and our fears? So visualization is an incredibly powerful way to bombard the subconscious mind, to reinforce the subconscious mind, to get the subconscious mind moving again in our direction. So you've got the 4M routine to get us into an amazing state, then the gratitude, then the one thing, so there's a real practical element to that start to the day. You've got high value activities to make sure you're focusing on the right thing. We've talked about affirmations, gratitude, a 3.5 minute state changer, using various techniques you can use to just keep re-stimulating your subconscious mind. We've got visualization. And I would supplement that by visual images. However strong your subconscious mind, supplement it with visual images. So not just the one of the kitchen. So, for example, my screensaver is a powerhouse image that reminds me that I can be anything I want to be. My wife, Leona, has her little goals. Well, they're massive goals, but she's done them quite small. Big goals all over our bathroom there. So every time one of us is in there, we're just bombarded by seeing this wall of goals that Leona has created. Right in front of me over here, I've just got all of these visual images of everything I'm looking to achieve. But I've also created some very, very practical steps there as well. So like everyone else, I'm used to home-based working, but I'm having to add an extra level of discipline. So visual representation, I just now have a 10-step checklist that just adds to the things that I need to be doing each day. And I can see it when I'm sitting here working. I'm just looking at it and I can see that. I've also got that upper level where I've got my 5 big streams of pivoting to win, finishing and publishing my book, virtual leadership content, virtual coaching content, my online membership program, and recording 12 months video content. So they're my 5 big streams of work whilst we're in this period where face-to-face work is not happening. 10-step checklist, 5 big streams, lots of visual images of who I am and where I'm going and what I want to achieve in life. So visualization plus visual images are really, really important. And then the debrief. So think about the active debrief that I spoke about earlier. But every time you do a significant activity, you debrief. Winners debrief more than the average. And you're looking for the 1 or 2 percenters. What went well, what didn't go so well. If it's a coaching interview or a client interview, what questions really resonated with the client, perhaps what didn't, and what should I do more of, what should I do differently. Do that consistently on the back of every single activity. Just have a 5-minute maximum debrief before you do whatever you're going to do next. Make a massive difference. It's a really difficult habit to create. But when you create it, it's an absolute winner. It is a truly powerhouse habit that accelerates your performance incredibly. So debrief is another one of the winning habits and routines. And that takes me into the final one that I'll use here before I start to wrap up. And that is having an end of day process. So I had a very simple 90-second end of day process. Literally thought about 3 things. What are the best things that have happened today? Now, again, some people write these down. Some people just go through it in their mind, because your subconscious mind is always working. So when you're sleeping, you want to be thinking about really important, really positive things. Why some people write their goals out, again, just before they go to sleep. So the subconscious mind is working on it whilst they're sleeping. So I always think about, what's the best thing that's happened today? What's one thing I've learned today to make sure I've got this growth mindset, this opportunity mindset, this curiosity mindset, this positive mindset, always learning, always learning, always learning. And then what's going to be my major focus for tomorrow? Now that might be a big thing, like a theme like gratitude or fun or helping others or connection, or it might be more specific, like reaching out to 20 connections. And that's my end of day debrief process. Now that's become enhanced from when I was doing one of my What Winners Do virtual programs. There was a lady on the program from Copenhagen in Denmark called Pernille Hartmann. And I was talking about my end of day process. And Pernille reached out to me afterwards and said, Andy, there's a thing that a Danish actress created. And it goes like this, that at the end of every day, you close your eyes and you visualize this log fire, roaring log fire. And what you see in front of the log fire is all this glitter coming down in front of the log fire. And in amongst the glitter is the gold from your day. And it's an absolutely beautiful way to end your day. And most days I fall asleep to that. So again, there's some thoughts about an end of day process for you. Brilliant to set yourself up for success with a powerhouse morning routine, and then a more gentle end of day process to make sure as you move into a sleep state, your subconscious mind is really working for you and working on the things that you want your subconscious mind to work on. And then a couple of things that will just help people as they think about ending the week. Every Friday, for those that work in traditional kind of roles, I call this my Friday 15. And it really is, and again, if you run a team of people, it's a great way to do very short, sharp, focused one-to-ones at the end of the week. It should take you no more than 15 minutes. So there's 3 parts to it. That was 4, but there's 3 parts to it. The first part is I reflect, what's the best thing that's happened this week? And then I say, why was that the best? What lessons have I learned from that? And how do I do more of that next week? What's the best that's happened? Why? What have I learned from it? How do I do more of it? Constantly doing more of the great stuff is a really great idea. What's the most challenging thing that's happened this week? Why? What have I learned from it? How do I minimize the opportunity of that ever happening to me again? Equally, reducing the opportunity of some of the difficult stuff happening again is a really good idea. And then the third part, what is the most important thing I have to do next week? Now, at this point, I would challenge my clients to say, well, if that's the most important thing you've got to do, when is that scheduled in your diary? And interestingly enough, the honest answer frequently is, actually, Andy, it isn't. And then I'll challenge them again to say, well, if that's the most important thing that you've got to do, surely that should be scheduled up front and central in your diary. So then we'll time block that into some segments of time through their week to make sure they're focusing on the thing they've got to do next. So there's a very, very simple activity you can do for yourself. There's a very simple activity for those of you who lead and coach other people that you can start doing with those on your team. It creates a really, really good, simple movement that enables you, your people, and your team to do more of the stuff that works, to find ways to reduce the stuff that doesn't work, and then make sure you're getting the stuff done that matters most. And then I'm going to share with you what I call my winner's checklist. Now, when I started in banking, when I got my first job as a bank manager, to be honest, I was a little bit overwhelmed. And, it was a big branch. There were 70 people there at the time, about 25,000 customers. And I never seemed to have any time to myself. And it was actually when I started doing my Mozart time, which I've carried with me ever since, as you've seen. And I started in my journaling just noting down questions for myself. And then one day I decided I'd put them all together into a winner's checklist. And, I've started using that checklist again over the last few years because it still really resonates with me, and I know it really helps others. And again, wherever you are, if you've been unfortunate enough to lose your role, or you're currently operating without pay, or again, your small business is facing really, really challenging times, maybe there's at least a few questions on here that can really help you. But like everything else I've shared today, just use this as a basis. Feel free to adapt this. Feel free to copy it, but then absolutely add your own 10, 20, 30% to make it work for you. This works for me. This works for many of the people that I've worked with. But again, take out questions that don't work, add questions in that work better. So it goes like this. Have you operated 100% within your circle of influence? Let's not get caught up on things outside our influence, things we can't control. Massively important at the present time. Have you been obsessive about your goals and objectives? Now, clearly you've got to have some goals and objectives to be obsessive about them. That's taking action that's directly, applicable to the achievement of the goal. Have you spent time with those who need you most? And if you don't work in a team environment, that might be just about, gratitude. Have you made your stars feel great and made recognition a daily event? Same thing. If you're in a business of one like I am, you can still put thanks, praise, recognition, celebration, gratitude out into the universe. Have you maintained a can-do attitude and a sense of urgency? Speed stuns. Do today what others are only planning to do tomorrow. That's when, we need to go for the gap. We've got to have speed, urgency, direction, focus. Have you held your nerve and done the right things? Have you held your appointment with Mozart, time for yourself, by yourself, with yourself, without technology, without disruption, you and your journal, just thinking about what matters most, getting clarity on what matters most? Have you learned something? And if you feel your time poor, just watch a gift by 2 minutes learning a day. We can all find that amount of time. Have you learned from a champion? Study successful people in your industry, in your sector, with your industry and sector. Have you put enough energy into your business? Have you done what matters most? The high value activity, the time blocks, the one thing that's the most important thing you've got to focus on at that particular time. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? How could you become a 10? What have you celebrated this week? How much better is your business or your life this Friday than last? And then my final one was, what's the best thing that you've done today? So my name is Andy Fell. I'm the founder of a business called Gift 631. That's about growth, personal, team and business. That's about inspiration. That's about fulfillment. That's about happiness and fulfillment. That's the F. And the T is transformation, personal, team and business. This is a time when we all need to think about the transformations we need to make to go from where the world was even a month ago to where the world is likely to be going. Gift 631, and a little bit of context around the 631 earlier. And also what winners do. What winners do is a series of virtual and face-to-face events, seminars, that is all around everything I've spoken about today. How you build a series of winning habits and routines to create a winning system. How you develop a champion's mindset and stay in the player zone. It has been an absolute pleasure to interact with you today. Please check out the YouTube channel. There is so much quality free content on there that's going to help you on your journey. So please do check out the YouTube channel. I'll also post a link to a recent podcast interview that I did, which I know is adding tremendous value to many, many people. So wherever you are around the world, I wish you every success, stay safe, ongoing happiness, and keep winning.